From Trump winning elections to major world events, The Simpsons have a crazy habit of getting the future exactly right. They made references to smartwatches, viral outbreaks, and even outrageous scandals years before they actually occurred. It's amusing until it isn't. However, their forecasts for 2026 are insane. Number 15. The Simpsons predicted that political chaos could peak. The Simpsons showed something in Sideshow Bob Roberts, Season 6, Episode 5, that felt like a joke at the time, but now feels uncomfortably real. What really happened? Something in that episode? In Sideshow Bob, a well-known criminal runs for mayor and actually wins. But that victory was not fair. Although the elections were held, the elections were rigged using fake votes from dead people and even pets. Apparently it seems funny, but it is something that the message behind it is serious. If we look at today, world fast-forwarded to today, things don't seem so different. Political turmoil is on the rise everywhere. Protests are growing in frequency. Since false information spreads more quickly than the truth, many people are beginning to doubt the outcome of the election. The public is concerned about the ways in which powerful leaders are acquiring authority in certain places. This episode is a reflection of the same reality. It demonstrates how readily individuals can be swayed by the media, deceptive claims, and a positive public image. A boisterous talk show presenter supports Sideshow Bob's campaign, which is full of irrational claims like constructing the Matlock Expressway. In some way, he is believed by others. Even more intriguing is the fact that popularity and presentation trump logic and truth. Bob eventually gets arrested, but the harm has already been done. This episode seemed to be pure satire when it first aired. However, it feels more like a warning now. Chaos and political manipulation are no longer merely cartoon concepts. We may already be experiencing it. Number 14. The Simpsons VR addiction warning feels way too real. Back in Bart to the Future, Season 11, Episode 17, The Simpsons hinted at something that once felt like pure science fiction, but now feels very close to reality. In this future-setting episode, Bart is shown living a struggling life, constantly surrounded by virtual reality. VR isn't just entertainment anymore, it's everywhere. People use it for news, for fun, and even as a way to escape their problems. At the time, it was played for laughs, but today, it hits differently. Now, fast forward to 2020, and virtual worlds are no longer just games. They're becoming entire lifestyles. With the rise of the metaverse, virtual concerts, and AI-driven experiences, more people are spending time in digital spaces than ever before, and experts are starting to raise concerns. Studies suggest that too much VR use can lead to mental fatigue, emotional detachment, and even addictive behavior. And that's exactly what The Simpsons showed years ago. In the episode, Bart doesn't just use VR for fun, he becomes isolated. He's disconnected from the real world, stuck in a loop of digital escape. The technology looks exciting, but the result is actually quite depressing. It reflects a bigger question we're facing today. What happens when virtual experiences start replacing real life? What once looked like a random joke VR news, ray guns, and over-the-top digital worlds now feels like a quiet warning. Once again, The Simpsons didn't just entertain us, it gave us a glimpse into the consequences of our own future. Number 13. The Simpsons' economic crash satire looks impending. A swift-talking salesman, flashy project that is too good to be true, and a town so hungry for spending forgets to think. Does this sound familiar? In The Simpsons episode, Marge versus the Monorail, Season 4, Episode 12, Springfield suddenly gets a $3 million windfall, and instead of using it wisely, the town is swept up in excitement. And in walks Lyle Landley, a slick con man with a catchy jingle and an irresistible pitch. A new monorail. That sounds like progress. It does sound like the future. But in practice, it's a recipe for disaster. What once seemed like a hilarious, over-the-top joke now seems a little too close to home. As we pass through 2026, real-world economies are giving similar warning signs. Governments are drowning in debt, risky investments are made without proper oversight, and growth is often pushed without long-term planning. The boundary between smart investment and reckless spending is beginning to blur, from stimulus money to ambitious infrastructure projects. Just like Springfield, people are buying into the promise without questioning the foundation. Lyle Landley cuts corners, takes the money, and disappears, leaving chaos behind him. It's a great satire of financial mismanagement, whether we're talking speculative bubbles, overhyped startups, or unstable markets. Marge could see clearly that the signs had been there all along, but no one wanted to listen. And that's what makes it scary. Because the monorail hadn't merely failed, it had nearly destroyed the town. The fallout in the real world might not be as dramatic, but can be just as damaging. Rising inflation, job losses, or even a full-scale economic crash. The episode is not really about a monorail, where excitement trumps logic, where spectacle trumps common sense, and when nobody stops to ask, is this really a good idea? Because in the end, it's never just about the project, it's about the system that makes it possible. Number 12. The Simpsons predicts AI will take over our jobs. Itchy and Scratchy Land's robots might have been a warning rather than only a joke. When animatronic robots fail and attack people, a pleasant family vacation in the Simpsons episode, Itchy and Scratchy Land, Season 6, Episode 4, devolves into mayhem. It seemed like pure comedy at the time. It seems uncomfortably relevant today. In the present day, AI is already taking the place of jobs in everything from customer service to creative work. In Them Robot Season 23, Episode 17, the program expanded on this concept by having Mr. Burns replace employees with robots, only to have them rebel against him. The message? Over-reliance on technology can be detrimental. This time, if something goes wrong, there might not be a Homer to save the day. So, what was once parody now feels like a glimpse of truth. Number 11. Smart technology could take over home life too. Not only are our jobs in jeopardy, but our houses could be next. The Simpsons referenced such a situation in 2001 in Treehouse of Horror 12, Season 13, Episode 1. The episode features the Simpsons moving into a home that is fully automated, operated only through voice commands. Everything seems perfect at first. Everything works on command. The lights change quickly, and things take care of themselves. But this being The Simpsons, the house soon becomes self-aware, turning on the family and becoming terribly fixated on Marge. Convenience quickly takes on a far more sinister quality. Today, voice assistants, smart speakers, and network devices are everywhere, and we are already getting a taste of that reality. The difference? We haven't yet gone off the rails. It's a sobering reminder that convenience can come with a price tag if we hand over more power to technology. Number 10. World War III. The thing that everyone fears the most, a very dark Simpsons prediction for 2026, is World War III. On multiple occasions, Simpsons have predicted this war. The fear of World War III isn't just in the news. It's been quietly echoing in The Simpsons for decades. It's 1987, and in one of the earliest Simpsons shorts, Homer Simpson suddenly panics, convinced World War III has begun. In pure Homer fashion, he rushes his family into a backyard bomb shelter, turning a global nightmare into something weirdly personal and uncomfortably real. Then fast forward to 1995. In the episode Lisa's Wedding, we see a glimpse of the future where Lisa Simpson's British fiancé casually drops a chilling line. It's said like history, like something that already happened. That's what makes it unsettling. The show doesn't scream about war, it slips it into the background, as if it's inevitable. And now, with global tensions rising, those old scenes don't feel like jokes anymore. They feel like warnings. Number 9. Billionaire corporate towns. What was once thought to be pure fiction now seems remarkably similar to reality. Homer relocates his family to the ideal community of Cypress Creek in the episode You Only Move Twice. Clean streets, free homes, and an incredibly amiable boss all seem fantastic. Hank Scorpio, that boss, behaves like the ideal employer. He makes things simple and looks after his employees. However, he is truly a terrible villain who controls the entire town while secretly manufacturing weapons and battling governments. In 2026, this concept no longer seems so absurd. Actual billionaires are beginning to construct their own private communities, purchasing vast tracts of land and establishing regulations. These cities, where employment, housing, and even daily life are under corporate control, are built for their employees. The frightening aspect: you may gradually lose your freedom without even realizing it when one firm controls everything around you, including your home, place of employment, and surroundings. An ideal town could not be as perfect as it appears, as The Simpsons cautioned us long ago. Number 8. The Simpsons warning about a global food crisis. For instance, in The Simpsons, the episode Lisa the Vegetarian appears to be a simple story, but there is a deeper message. Lisa Simpson becomes a vegetarian after a trip to a petting zoo where she befriends a lamb. What seems to be a small personal choice soon becomes a challenge to everything around her family, her school, and even her culture. Everyone around her says it's just a phase, but Lisa begins to question the very system of food production itself. The episode subtly explores themes of consumption, tradition, and responsibility, and how difficult it can be to go against what society deems normal. In the present day, the message seems more pertinent than ever. Concerns regarding food shortages brought on by climate change, droughts, population growth, and unsustainable farming methods are becoming more widespread. Scientists caution that there is pressure on the world's food systems, and that it is getting harder to provide enough food for everyone. Lisa's choice seems meaningful in this context. In a world that is resistant to change, she stands for early awareness. Paul McCartney's appearances and the encouragement of characters like Apu Nahasapima Patailan serve as examples of how minor changes in perspective can result in more significant discussions. So maybe the episode wasn't just comedy. Maybe it was a quiet warning about how we consume, what we ignore, and what happens when we finally run out of room to ignore it. Number 7. The American takeover of Greenland. Back in the 2002 Simpsons episode Blame It on Lisa, there's a small detail most viewers never noticed. At one point, Homer is seen wearing a very unusual t-shirt. Printed on it is Uncle Sam, the symbol of American power, taking a huge bite out of the Earth itself. And the land he's biting into isn't random, it's Greenland. Beneath the image are the words, "Try and stop us." More than 2 decades later, what looked like a throwaway cartoon gag has suddenly become part of a very real political controversy. Donald Trump has openly argued that the United States should control Greenland, saying it's vital for national security. As he put it, you defend ownership, you don't defend leases, and we'll have to defend Greenland. He has also suggested that if acquiring Greenland doesn't happen through negotiations, other options could eventually be considered. The issue is that Greenland remains part of Denmark, and Danish leaders have repeatedly stated that the island is not for sale under any circumstances. But as tensions continue to rise around the world, some political observers are now speculating that pressure over Greenland could escalate into a much larger confrontation before the middle of the year. More than 20 years ago, The Simpsons showed Uncle Sam taking a bite out of Greenland. Today, some people believe that image feels less like a joke and more like an unsettling prediction. Another dark Simpsons moment that has people talking. Number 6. A new super virus ruining shipping. Back in 1993, The Simpsons aired an episode that feels eerily familiar today. Marge in Chains, Season 4, Episode 21. What starts as a simple joke quickly turns into something much darker. The so-called Osaka flu spreads through Springfield after residents order juicers from Japan, unknowingly importing a virus along with their packages. Fast forward more than 30 years, and it almost feels like déjà vu. The episode plays out like a preview of the modern world. Global shipping networks acting as silent carriers, a fast-spreading illness, and a town descending into fear and confusion. It mirrors what we experienced during COVID-19, but also hints at what could come next. With new virus strains emerging and climate change increasing the risk of zoonotic diseases, the idea of another outbreak disrupting global supply chains by 2026 doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. But the real chaos in the episode begins when Marge, trying to care for her sick family, is mistakenly arrested for shoplifting. With her gone, Springfield spirals out of control. Small problems quickly escalate, bake sales fail, and panic spreads. And before long, the town erupts into full-blown riots, even tearing apart a statue of Jimmy Carter. It's funny on the surface, but underneath, it reveals something deeper. Marge in Chains shows how quickly society can unravel when fear replaces logic and empathy disappears. A single health crisis doesn't just affect people physically. It triggers a chain reaction of misinformation, economic disruption, and social instability. The flu in the episode isn't even that deadly, yet the panic it creates exposes the real weakness, not the virus itself, but how people respond to it. And that's the unsettling part. If the world has learned anything from recent history, it's that the next crisis won't just be about medicine. It will be about preparedness, communication, and trust. Because sometimes the scariest predictions aren't about the disease, they're about how we handle it. Number 5. Climate disasters could spike by 2026. It starts like a joke. A lazy Sunday morning, a warm bed, and in one simple decision, Homer decides he's not going to church. But outside, a brutal blizzard is tearing through Springfield. In the Simpsons episode Homer the Heretic, what feels like a lighthearted story quickly reveals something deeper. The snow isn't just background noise, it's extreme, relentless, and paralyzing. Cars won't start. Doors freeze shut. The entire town grinds to a halt. At first, it plays out like comedy. Homer enjoys the perfect day at home while chaos unfolds outside. But looking at it now, it hits differently. Because today, extreme weather isn't fiction. It's becoming the norm. Blizzards in unexpected places. Heat waves where they shouldn't exist. Floods, droughts, and wildfires, each more intense than the last. What The Simpsons hinted at decades ago now mirrors real-world climate patterns, a planet growing more unstable by the year. And the warning doesn't stop there. In the Simpsons movie, Springfield faces an environmental catastrophe after toxins are dumped into a lake, turning it into a deadly hazard. It's exaggerated, sure, but the message is clear. Ignore environmental damage long enough, and it comes back worse. Back in Homer the Heretic, there's a moment people often overlook. Homer's house catches fire. What started as comfort ends in disaster. It's ironic, but also symbolic. Ignore the warning signs, and eventually, the consequences catch up fast. Even the ending feels strangely ahead of its time. A group of completely different people, Apu, Ned, and Krusty, come together to save Homer. Different beliefs, different backgrounds, one shared goal. Because when disaster strikes, nothing else matters. Now fast forward to 2026. The conversation around climate change isn't quiet anymore. It's urgent. Scientists are raising alarms, data is backing it up, and the weather itself is becoming unpredictable. And suddenly, that snowy Sunday in Springfield doesn't feel like a joke. It feels like a warning. Because if The Simpsons got this one right, then 2026 might not just be about strange weather. It might be about survival. Number 4. Aliens are coming to Earth. Every year, we look up at the sky and wonder, is this the moment? The year aliens finally make contact. And every year, silence. But back in 1997, The Simpsons dropped an episode that felt like a joke at the time, and now feels a little too real. In the Springfield Files, it starts with something straight out of a nightmare. Homer stumbles through the woods late at night and sees it. A glowing green figure, tall, otherworldly, watching. No one believes him until the entire town spirals into chaos. Suddenly, Springfield becomes obsessed. Fear spreads. Rumors explode. Everyone wants answers. Then things get even crazier. 2 familiar faces show up. Fox Mulder and Dana Scully straight out of the X-Files, turning this small-town mystery into a full-blown alien investigation. But here's the twist. The alien? Just Mr. Burns, glowing from radiation after a bizarre longevity treatment. A joke, right? Maybe not, because underneath the comedy, The Simpsons wasn't really talking about aliens. It was talking about us, how we react to the unknown, how quickly curiosity turns into panic, how easily truth gets buried under hype, fear, and misinformation. Now jump to 2026. Organizations like NASA are pushing deeper into space than ever before. The James Webb Space Telescope is scanning distant galaxies. The Europa Clipper is hunting for signs of life beneath icy oceans. Finding alien life isn't just science fiction anymore. It's a real scientific objective. And if that moment ever comes, if something does appear in our skies, the real question isn't what we'll find. It's how we'll react. Because if the Springfield Files got anything right, it's that the scariest part of alien contact might not be the aliens at all. It might be us. Number 3. You could literally be going to space this year. The Simpsons did something crazy in a cartoon episode from 1994, long before private rockets, billionaires, or influencer culture. Deep Space Homer sends the average donut-loving person, Homer Simpson, into space. Not because he's qualified, but because NASA wanted to make space more accessible again. It was humor back then, pure. But now let's fast forward to 2025. We are actually watching celebrities exit the planet. Space has become the ultimate VIP experience thanks to private firms like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Indeed, spaceflight missions have already been associated with real-life celebrities like Katy Perry. Give that some thought. It used to seem like a stupid cartoon joke, but now it seems regular. The notion that regular people, that is, wealthy and well-known regular people, can simply board a rocket and go from this world. That isn't science fiction anymore. We are currently moving in that direction. This is where it gets spooky. Not only did The Simpsons foresee space travel, they predicted that it would be people for common people, picked for attention rather than knowledge, rather than skilled astronauts. Therefore, the true question is whether Homer Simpson could have traveled to space in 1994. How long till a real-life version of him does it? Number 2. FIFA. Back in 1997, The Simpsons dropped a subtle prediction that might sound crazy until you look at what's coming in 2026. In the episode, The Cartridge Family, the show opens with a flashy commercial. Springfield is hosting a massive soccer match between Mexico and Portugal. But this isn't just any game. The winner is crowned the best in the world. It's basically their version of the FIFA World Cup final. At the time, it was just a random, over-the-top joke. But now, let's get down to the facts. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is officially going to be played in North America. And yes, Mexico is one of the main host nations. All of a sudden, that old Simpsons scene doesn't seem so random anymore. It feels a little too specific. Now imagine this. Mexico, playing at home, makes a historic once-in-a-lifetime run all the way to the final. The crowd is roaring, the pressure is unreal, and across the pitch is Portugal, a team that, like Mexico, has never actually made it to a World Cup final in real life. 2 underdog countries, 1 world stage. A story that sounds like fiction, except it was dreamt up by The Simpsons almost 30 years ago. Is that likely? Nope. But can it be done? Yes, definitely. And that is what is so chilling about this prediction, because The Simpsons has an odd tendency to get things almost exactly right, rather than merely coming up with crazy ideas. If history has taught us anything, it's that sometimes the most improbable prophecies are the ones we should be paying the closest attention to. Number 1. Aftermath. One of the most disturbing moments in The Simpsons is when we cut to the future, in this case the year we jump to, 2030. In this episode, Lisa Simpson becomes the first straight female president of America. It sounds like classic satire at first, but listen a bit closer. In a tense meeting in the Oval Office, Lisa turns to her Secretary of Treasury and asks a chilling question. As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it? The answer? America is in real financial trouble. But here's where it gets spooky. The episode Bart to the Future was released in 2030 years ahead of its timeline setting. For many viewers at the time, the idea that Donald Trump would become president seemed almost laughable. But fast forward to reality, and not only did it happen, the concerns about national debt and economic instability don't seem so far-fetched anymore. Of course, Lisa Simpson isn't walking into the White House in 2030. But that's not the point, really. What's unsettling about this prediction isn't the character, but the scenario. A country in financial trouble, with economic problems passed down from previous leadership, trying to stay afloat. Look around today, and it's hard to ignore how chaotic things can feel economically. Growing debt, inflation worries, global uncertainty, it all feels strangely familiar. Was it just clever writing, or was there another glimpse into something bigger about the future from The Simpsons? Either way, we're left with a question that's hard to shake off. Are we really that far from the reality they imagined?